All right, shalom. Hey, Sister Kate here, back for another practice session. Look at me, I'm windblown. My hair's a mess. Outside, it's a beautiful sunny day, so Pastor Joe and I were once again out picking up recyclable cans and things. And so, occasion where I'm going to try my Premiere on Wednesday at 7 and computer versus my phone. I wanted to see the difference. Hey, shalom, Angela. And Chasing Life, welcome, welcome, welcome. Because this is a practice chat, I'm willing to discuss anything you guys want to discuss. It's a really good time for people who have Torah questions to ask your Torah questions. If you have off-grid questions, it's a really good time to get me because here I am. And again, I don't plan on staying online for a really long time. It is a practice. So one of the things I wanted to know, okay, so see, I'm looking at myself and I think I'm supposed to be looking at the camera so you guys can see me. Can you hear me okay? And can you see me okay? How's the visual? How's the sound? I'll just talk about the recycling we were doing. There is a construction site near us, and it's long-term. The people working there have been doing it for a long time, and met the owner, got his permission. And so we went out to like their trash dump and we're picking up all the cans there. Because in this particular state, you can turn them in and get money. It's not tons of money, but it's something. It's like pocket change. And so that was part of what we were doing out there. And we got, I think, 4 large black trash bags, which to me, I'm like, oh, we should make tons of money. That'll probably be like $20. But it's something. The audio is a little spotty, okay. And it's sounding in the from, by the way. You YouTubers who are swinging by, Angela and Chasing Life. Let's see. I'm going to push a button here. I want to see what this does. Oh, that's me. Okay, there we go. Where are you guys from? What you doing in the middle of the day? So this is in a large city, like 20 minutes away. So when we go there the next trip, then we can take our recyclables with us and turn them in. There we go. Okay, good. What else? Because it's a beautiful sunny day, we also are trying to do some of the outdoor chores that the cold weather has kept us away from. I was trying to get a dead battery out of one of our vehicles so we could charge it. And I could not find a ratchet, because I know how to use them, and wrenches for this bolt. It was tiny, tiny. So when I asked Pastor Joe, he said, well, he wasn't sure exactly where, all the car automotive working on tools were. So I got one bolt off and the other is waiting until he's done with what he's doing. So, oh, you're in Louisiana. Wow. And Chasing Life is homesick. Oh, I'm sorry. What's the matter? Do you have a cold, Chasing Life? And Angela, Pastor Joe and I were watching a video last night on Louisiana when Lake, I think it was Pennoir. There was drilling going on there by an oil company, and this was in like 1980. And the drill shaft went down into a salt mine where people were actually mining at the time, miners in the shaft, and the water from the lake started to drain into the mine and like made a huge whirlpool and pulled tugboats that were on the lake and barges and all the water from the lake and the down to the Gulf, reversed water from the Gulf into that mine and completely flooded it. We were alive, obviously, in 1980. We were high school age, and we do not remember the news about that. But man, that was an amazing thing. And luckily, all the miners lived. We were, yay, hallelujah for that. Chasing Life in Massachusetts. Oh my goodness, you guys, just think about the verse, because I'm closer to Louisiana than Massachusetts. We're like a big triangle. Yeah, true story, and so weird. So weird. Pictures of, the whole soil on the side of the lake and trees toppling and all getting sucked in. I'm just glad that the miners made it. So, uh, what else can I talk about? What do you ladies want to talk about? Do you have any questions? Are you getting your garden ready? Are you, is it warm enough? It's got to be warm enough in Louisiana to start thinking about putting in like the onion. Oh, flu symptoms. Oh my goodness. Chasing life. Nursing, wow, amazing. I love nurses. They're so skilled. Do you have have you heard of the where you put the dried elderberries in vodka and then it makes an extract, and that's supposed to be a good flu fighter? I'm sure you've been exposed to a lot. Bless you, man. Those protective gloves and like masks and constantly washing your hands, so important. Angela, you have flowers on your tomato plants? Holy moly. I don't want to say I'm envious. It's a sin. But wow, that's amazing. Up here, all right, the crocuses are up. I have one of my videos, I have the pictures of the crocuses that are purple ones. And like the tulips, the green part of the tulips are just breaking through the soil. And some of the daffodils that are exposed light, what am I trying to say? Southward facing, they're actually blooming, but most of the daffodils are still half in and out of the ground. Oh, you've been talking to your plants. Oh, that's so sweet. Love it. I bet it helps them grow. Last night. Oh, okay. All right. Talk about homeschooling. I'm totally about that kind of thing. Now, personally, I did not, my kids entered into the local school because we had moved when they were younger than ninth grade, but I've seen a lot of people now do finish them off. And so I think it's a really good idea. First of all, whatever your state requires, I do think you should try to keep within the guidelines of your state for homeschooling, because some states require that you submit your curriculum and all sorts of things, and other states just require like some sort of testing at the end of the year to prove that you did something. So I go by your state guidelines. If you can get some online schooling, I think it's a good idea. But I also think you should start to branch out in things that she's interested in and let her get into some in-depth study on those. I would be getting her ready for job interviewing. That's something that my husband did a really good job of. He started when our kids were sort of teenagers, and he sat them down, and he had done research on it too. So he had a lot of information on what you want to do in an interview, what information you want to get out, what questions you want to ask. She should start practice writing papers, themed papers and of a certain length, research papers. She should start on her resume writing and, tweak it and things like that. I would get like a curriculum for at least her math and her English and her science, probably. I really was always about hands-on science, but as you get into the upper grades and you get into things like biology and physics and life science, it can be a little dry if you don't also get experiments and I'm sure there's a place to buy pre-done, make a potato turn into a radio and things like that. I used the California Achievement Test, and you had to write to a place, I think it was called Seton Hall School, and you wrote to them. I think it was $25 at the time, and then they would send you the test and the grading, and so you could give the test at home, and then grade it yourself and then send it all back to them, and they kept record of it. And I would do that for my kids at the end of the year, I think in English and math, just to make sure on those basics I was within a guideline there. Your comments, because I've been talking now for a little while. Oh, hey, John West, how are you? Hi, Brubaker's Flat Cakes, welcome back. Hey, Northwest Arkansas Prepper, how are you? Bless you, brother. How you doing? Okay, all right, so we're on the same page there. And then another thing people have done that I think is kind of smart is if you have a local community college, have your student take their summer classes. Maybe not so much during the regular year, because your ninth grader is not emotionally ready to be in a classroom with 20-year-olds. But if they offer something like a biology with a lab, or your standard English class, or what else? Like the math, if you're not as with the math, have them take their basics at summer school, community college, because those classes are often cheaper. They're going to get the credit, and they're going to be a bit easier. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but they're not going to be as constant, not as long as a semester. And so it's not going to be as much information. And, there's bonuses all around for that. Your child kind of gets used to the idea of, what college might be like for them. And it's you're going to make sure that they get that basic information they're going to need if they're going to go on to higher learning. So that's a suggestion I have. Apprenticeships, I would look into like parks in your area or museums or things like that, and get them some volunteer experience in things they're interested in. If they think they might want to be vet, then see if they can tag along with a vet, or if there's a vet who would like a volunteer worker a couple of hours a week, if a museum would like them to help set things up or go through their paperwork. I think that's really good for kids at that age. I'd put her through a aid class and the babysitting training, even if she doesn't want to babysit, or he. The first aid information that you would get in a babysitting class will help them when they have their own kids. I would even say if it's okay, system, I don't know if I'd do that or not, to see if they could be an assistant teacher for somebody, but that's probably not. If you're homeschooling, you don't really want them in the school. Although some places allow your homeschooler to do the extracurriculars, to be on the basketball team, or do the art, or the band, or the choir, or the what do they call it when it's those questions and answers? I can't think of it right now, but when the students go and they have to do trivia and like robotics lab, or the robotics, Lego has robotic programs. See if your daughter can also be involved in those things. Instead of thinking as homeschool as being very, very inclusive, think if your ninth grader is an adult, or a pre-adult, you're starting to train to be an adult and to be able to be out things. Yeah, it is a great day here in Northwest Arkansas Prepper. We've been out scavenging and recycling and really taking advantage of it. Okay, I'm going to read some of your comments just for a minute. Praying on this so much. I was thinking I was failing as a mother and she was not doing what she should as a student, but with prayer and reflection, I'm realizing that okay. All right. Hey, Teresa. Long time no see. Welcome. Yeah, debate club. That's a really good thing. We have started club sports as opposed to school team to transition this year. Okay, club sports would work too. Let me scroll back through. Can I scroll back through? Maybe I can't scroll back through. Oh, well. Northwest Arkansas Prepper, are you starting your garden? I'd like to know, because if we weren't doing Shimatah this year, I would definitely be doing that. My project that has to do with the scavenging is building a duck house. I should do a video on that. I did a short one, but I haven't done an upgrade. I'm doing another practice live stream just to see. He's recycling.
Who are you talking to?
Angela, Chasing Life, Teresa. You see? Oh, Pastor
Hey!
Joe. There he is, right here.
How cool. What a modern and fascinating world in which we live.
Right? Angela's from Louisiana.
Louisiana?
Talked about that lake video we saw.
Oh, yeah?
Chasing Life, homeschooling mom, talking about the homeschooling stuff.
Smartest kids in the world, homeschooled kids.
Hey, Pastor Joe.
Shalom, y'all.
Northwest Arkansas Prep.
Oh, yeah. How come you're not at work? I am at work. I get to watch you live streaming at work.
Oh, there's John West.
Oh.
Shalom, shalom. West
Tennessee. Gyro.
Yeah.
I messed up and didn't get to go blacksmithing last night.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
That's my blacksmith mentor.
Hey, blacksmith mentor. How are you? Do you have a garden going in? Because the weather is awesome. Hey, there's Matthew Smalls.
Where's Jeanette?
She's
sleeping.
Yeah. Okay. Northwest Arkansas Pepper says he's at the joy of the firehouse. You have good Wi-Fi there, don't you? High school children don't have to unlearn so much. Oh, homeschool children don't have to unlearn so much. It's true. And your homeschool child, like, as you all know, we're adults. When you go through school, like it's its own little world. But then when you graduate, you're out in the real world. And so much of what was happening in the, when you're confined with all those people doesn't happen out in the real world. And what counts out here is you need to be nice to people. You need to be interested and interesting. You need to work hard. Pastor and I joke all the time, like, if I knew then what I know now about what I'm doing with my life, I would have been going through chef classes and farming classes and auto mechanic, because those are real skills. Yes, I can go to a movie and dissect the plot and the characters and everything else, but that doesn't always help me in everyday life. So,
how much longer are you going to be up here?
I'll probably, when did this thing start? I said I'd only be online like 20 minutes. So, a little bit more. And then I'll be done.
Well, I'm going to head back because Millennial Man doesn't need help.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bless you.
Bless you, Pastor. See you later. Okay. All right. Awesome. John West. That's awesome. Do you have anything perennial? Do you guys have anything perennial in your gardens that you don't have to plant every year that you know are going to come up? The being nice to people is so difficult to teach in public high school, particularly with social media. Chasing Life, exactly. And that's why if your child ends up doing some kind of volunteering with something like a vet or at a museum, or let's say a grocery store, there is where they're going to get their social interaction and skills. Or if you take a first aid class, you're going to have to, get all of you are going to have to do the resuscitation and the resuscitanidol, and like you're going to have to practice the sling and stuff for the broken arm. And that's where you're going to get some of your social skills as well. Instead of, everyone in their desk facing forward and you don't get to do a lot of interacting. Okay. Nope. No perennial plants. Oh no, Angela, you lost your home in the 2016 flood. I'm so sorry. That's terrible. Oh. We tried blueberries, but the birds got them all. John West, that is a problem with blueberries. And if it's not the birds, it's the squirrels. And if it's not the squirrels, it's the deer. I tried something with the grapes last year, and it worked pretty well, because when grapes grow on our vines, again, the animals figure out they're there, and our elderberries too, and they'll come and they'll eat them. So I bought the stretchy pantyhose, like knee-high things, and I put them around the bunches of grapes, and I tied it at the top. And it was an experiment when I did it to see if the grapes would actually get ripe. And they did through the pantyhose, but it also kept animals from being able to eat them. And I think there's probably a reason some of the stores sell that plastic netting Because if you had more than a few blueberry bushes, you would probably want to protect it. You put a plastic fence over it. Okay, Chasing Life, that's a good volunteer thing to do too. All right, Angela. Hallelujah. I like hearing that. Following the Father is always a good plan. The other thing about blueberries is that you have to trim them. Like in the winter, you're supposed to trim them back, and then they put on new growth each year. And I've kind of abused our blueberries. I haven't pruned them very well, and so they haven't gotten very big. But I am liking the idea of enclosing things when I'm doing the gardening. So this year, I don't know how many garden videos we'll do because we're not actually using the garden this year. We're just improving it. But we've taken those hog panels, those 16-foot long fences, and we've made little teepees with them. We've zip tied them across the top, and then we put plastic fencing along the side without connecting it at the bottom so we can roll it up if we need to get in there and plant things. And it seems to be habits of the deer coming along and chewing things up in the garden. We have some perennial tomatoes that were cherry tomatoes, and I'm not sure where they came from. Well, the ones that are big red ones, my daughter-in-law planted, and they're called fox cherries. And when the fruit falls, they grow more plants out. But some of the ones that are now in my garden, I'm not sure where they came from. They're very, very small tomatoes, but I make sure to let some fall so they will come back. And they're like my if none of the other tomatoes make it, guys will be there summertime. Oh, thanks, Teresa. This is what my third live practice. I haven't really actually done a real one, but they've gone pretty well so far, so I feel pretty good about that. And the whole thing was to make sure that tomorrow I don't mess up. I really would hate to get people excited about a premiere and then me not be able to function right. It would just be awful. So I'm trying very hard. So Angela, the elderberry, if you can have access to any elderberry bushes, even wild ones, right, so videos on just doing the cuttings from them, and now is the time to do them. That's why there was a saint over at Shofar Mountain yesterday getting cuttings. She's going to put them in pots right now because she's in an apartment. But now is the time to do the cuttings, and you can transplant. So if you still have access to that area, now is the time to go get those things. I don't know about blueberries in Louisiana, though, because I think the hot temperature may affect what kind you want to get. You want to make sure you get one that's okay with the heat. You're welcome. Does anyone else have any other questions about anything? Torah stuff, homeschooling suggestions, livestock, anything like that? I guess I can type in there too. Oh. There. Typed it. There we go. Teresa, how are you doing? You're in Western Tennessee, right? Don't you have a new place that you bought like last year or the year before? What can I talk about? Do any of you all have chickens? Are your chickens laying? Because now also is the time when chickens start to really up their egg production because of the sunlight, the increase in the daily sunlight. Harriet Villanova, you're in the Philippines? Oh my goodness. I forget the name of the Jewish other book. Do you mean the Talmud, Angela? Which island are you on, Harriet? I'd love to know. Manila when I was a child. We've had a lot of water there. Are people flooded out of their homes all around us? Really, Teresa? Man, I remember that. I've got flood videos from the past with a child and make them a future adult. And I did it because I wanted to be with my kids all the time. So I feel good about it. I'm very happy for you. Oh boy, losing you. Is it just me on my end? It's probably the wind here. Live stream shut off here. Hey, welcome back. Yay. I come from one island in the Philippines and we just have 2 seasons there. Which island, Harriet? It's the rainy season and the dry season, right? Is that what the seasons are in the Philippines? All of that conversation? Oh my goodness. Well, I stopped talking when everyone disappeared. Maybe it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, Angela. So what do you guys do in Louisiana? What is like, I don't know how to phrase that. If you're home during the day, can I assume that you're not working? Oh my goodness. Yeah, Harriet, absolutely. Yep. When I was in the Philippines as a child, I experienced a 7.3 earthquake and a monsoon storm that took the whole week. Pastor Joe. It's Pastor Joe, not Jerry. There you go. You corrected it. That's right. Teresa, you're retired, right? Like me? Doha, Qatar. Is that in the southern part of the Philippines or the northern islands? What else can I talk about? I should write down. Is everybody comfortable? Oh, I thought of something last night. Now I got to remember what it is. It wasn't composting. Torah questions? No. Okay, disability. All right. You grew up farming rice and coconut. Farming rice is difficult, isn't it? You have to bend over and plant each plant in the rice paddies. I do have some fond memories of the Philippines also with the water buffalo. I remember seeing the water buffalo out in the helping people, in the rice paddies. And I found it very interesting that there are water buffalo in my area. The first time we drove by a house and I saw one, I just freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, Pastor Joe, look, there's a water buffalo. And I keep telling them every year, we need to get one. We need to get a water buffalo. And then we need to train it so that I can ride it, put the ring in its nose. It's supposed to be really good meat, lean and full of protein, and they don't require as much expensive feed to keep going. Oh my gosh, I would love to have one. I'm working here now. It's Middle East country. Oh, you're in Qatar, Harriet. Oh, so how do you like it there? Angela, you've been a housewife. Awesome. Me too, sister. Housewife pretty much my whole life. We are raising the future of our country, housewives. We really are. Unsung heroes. Good for you. Yes, we call it carabao. Yes, or caribou, carabao. I even had one of the wooden, what do you call it? Wooden figurines of a water buffalo one. They're just really neat. Right? Did you all know? Here we go. Here's a Sister Kate-ism. Did you know that the world's top quality mozzarella cheese is made from water buffalo milk? It's true. Look it up. Yep. That is what the top quality mozzarella cheese is made from. So if I got a water buffalo, I would want to milk it too. I really would. I think that would be a hoot. So, Angela, does your husband work on a rig, like an oil rig? I know there's a lot of guys down in that area that do oil rig work or fishing work. Just, looking for information, something to talk about. Yep. Yep. Look it up. Look up mozzarella, top quality mozzarella. Hey, Hobie909. Shalom. How are you, brother? What you doing this fine day? Hey, Cattywampus McDougal. Shalom. I just want enough goats to do cheese. Okay, John West. So I was talking about this the other day. My son needs to get rid of some milk goats. They are alpines. I think he'd like to sell them. If you're interested, I will give you his contact information. You probably would want 2 milk goats. Goats in general, good on their own because they're a herd animal. They don't like to be alone. And so if you want cheese, you need the dairy nannies. You don't want the little miniature ones because like I got, it's not enough milk. Usually when you make cheese recipes are per gallon of milk. And so you probably want 2 nannies, and there are a huge variety of dairy goats from Oberhaslis who are they're brown and they have a black stripe down their spine and they're very mild, all the way to the ones with no ears, and then the white ones that are called Saanen. There are just a huge variety. My favorite were Alpines just because they have the horns and like the billy goat gets the beard and they have like the hair on their back legs. So they look like the typical billy goat gruff. And the ones that I had down here do okay with the weeds they can eat and the temperature and everything. So John, I highly recommend you get a couple of dairy goats. Oh, okay. See you, Angela. Bless you. Bless you. Shalom. Okay. And the other thing about making cheese from goat milk is the hard cheeses, you have to actually get a specific kind of a bacterial or what am I trying to say? It's like it's a little package of a certain type of thing that you add to the milk to make it turn into cheddar cheese. Otherwise, if you just use the milk, then you can make what are called the soft cheeses, like cottage cheese or not mozzarella. What's the other one? Oh, I can't remember. Well, and mozzarella. Oh, there's a French one. The softer cottage cheese like cheeses. Oh, and feta. You can make feta. You take the milk and you just do something like raise it to a certain temperature and add some vinegar. For the feta, you take it to raise it to a certain temperature and then you add what's called rennet. And rennet is what makes the milk separate between curds and whey. And it's the curds that you press and then you drain all the fluid out of. That's what you make the feta out of. And whey is the liquid that's left, and the whey protein is what is in all those protein additives for muscle builder powders. Well, it is a liquid and it's full of protein. And so I think if you cook it again, you make like Romano cheese or one of those other soft Italian cheeses. But that whey, you add salt to it. You make it a certain amount of salt, put the curds back in, and that's feta. So it's really quite easy. But you're going to want at least 2 goats. Rennet. You're saying rennet. It's rennet. RENNET. And it's there's a website called Caprine, CAPRINE, Goat Supply. They sell liquid rennet. If you have a natural food store near you, they may sell rennet. Rennet is originally made from the stomach lining of the animal, like if you're going to use cow milk, from a calf. Excuse me. And I don't know how they came up with that idea. Maybe the calf died and so you're trying to use it, but the stomach lining is dried, and then when you put it in the milk, that's what turns the milk. But now, of course, people have figured out vegetable rennets and like even natural herb. I think I read somewhere that the mature head of a thistle can be used to turn the milk. Stinging nettle can be used to turn the milk. So there's lots of different rennets out there. Okay, so you have done mine, and yeah, I have the press too. And when we bought it and it came to the house, and then when we took it apart, like everything that it was made of, you could buy in a hardware store. You could certainly make your own. And before I got the cheese press, I would just like, I forget exactly how I did it. I would like wrap the curd in cheesecloth and then put a book and then a plate and then a book and then a brick so that the liquid ran out. So you can do it, low tech if you need to. Oh, autocorrect did it. Okay, Teresa, I get it now. You've been watching How Many Biscuits adventure with the baby animals. Lots of work. Absolutely chasing life. If they had asked me beforehand if they should do that, I would have given them some cautions. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but when you have those baby bottle-fed animals, you have to feed them like 3 times. She may be doing it more, but you have to feed them at least 3 times a day for 8 weeks, because at 8 weeks, they are weaned from the milk. So if you imagine yourself, you have to get the milk out, you have to heat it up, you have to put it in a bottle, then you have to individually, hand feed each one. But what we wound up doing is just putting the bottles through a fence with the animals on the other side so they could all be eating together. But it is very time consuming. And so I decided, instead of doing baby goats and mother goats that way, what I do now is I let the mama raise the baby the first 8 weeks, and then I separate them so the babies can be weaned, and then I start milking her. So it's a lot less work for me, because that's an intense 8 weeks. It's something. Plus now the animals are constantly like in your face when you walk outside because they're expecting you to feed them. And when they get bigger, that's no fun. Chasing life, it's true. Thinking about the origins of many products is mind-boggling. Who thought about yeast and making bread rise? I don't get that. Who fermented the first wine? I don't get it. Maybe they had grape juice in a wine skin and it got too hot, and then the grape juice turned into wine. I have no idea. It's really quite crazy. Yes, Mama? Shalom. Hey, Linda. Shalom. Welcome. I guess I could write that down. I haven't written anything. Woo. I have to take a slurp too. My throat's getting dry. Marlo, does anybody have any questions or anything they want to talk about specifically since I'm online? I said I was only going to be on here 20 minutes and it's been 41 minutes. So I'm probably going to get off and maybe at around an hour. So if you have any questions, please put them out there. If you don't have cheesecloth, don't use the new blue hand curd. If you do, you get blue colored cheese. I agree with that, John. And the Walmart, China Mart, I'm going to say China Mart, sells a kind of flour cloth. It's a white, very similar to cheesecloth towel. They sell it in their household living section. I think that would make a much better alternative. Well, let me see if I can go back through some of the comments. I was trying this earlier and I couldn't scroll. I'll try it this way. Oh, there we go. All right. Products, Teresa, Caddy Wampus McDougal. Aren't you down in like southern Texas, Caddy Wampus? Yep. Tea towels would work too. Yeah. Now you have truly blue cheese. John, if you're getting goats, you also need some fencing. You're in the Ohio Valley. Have you been to the mounds? Aren't there native Indian mounds somewhere up in that area? Have you ever been to them? And are you getting your garden ready? What's your temperatures like there in the Ohio Valley? Are you still, when is your last frost date for Ohio Valley? Whew. Getting a little lightheaded with all the talking. Questions. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions about Torah? Or comments? Can you all hear me okay? Can you see me okay? Options, solar power questions. Gardening questions. Harbinger 514, welcome. I have a quick question. Can I store baking soda in a regular 5-gallon bucket long term? I don't see why not. It should be fine. I have had baking soda, just the orange containers in cupboards for a long time. And even if it got flat, there's probably a way, and I haven't researched this, but just type it into the Google, how to like reactivate the baking soda. You can probably mix it with something like salt or whatever to re-stimulate it. But yeah, I would think there'd be no problem with that. Yes. No, I haven't been to them. Sometime in late March. It's 30 degrees and ice on the ground. Ugh. Okay. Where to get clear plastic for a greenhouse? Somebody said something on the last practice live stream that I did, practice in Wisconsin. I think it was called Nolt, N-O-L. You go back to that live stream and look through the comments. She is Rose of Sharon Homestead, and I'm almost certain it was Nolt, like plastics or something. So we already have ours, but she lives in Wisconsin and she's an amazing farmer. So her suggestion will be a good one if you double check it. Okay, thanks for dropping in. How can I get rid of grubs from my garden? I'm not an expert on this. I will just tell you that turning your soil in the spring will expose them, and then I grab mine and I feed them to my chickens. I'm not really super keen on turning soil, but I know grubs often are in there like 3 inches down, and that would be one way to get it done. And I'm not an expert gardener, so there's probably other ways to do that. There's probably things like sulfur or additives that you can put in the soil that would kill them, but I am not sure. Sorry, I'm not more specific, but yeah, turn the soil, grab them, and feed them to your recommendations on what to read to learn more about Torah observing Christians, please. Okay, one thing you can do is watch Pastor Joe's sermons, sermonsmountain.com. Another thing you can do is look at 119 Ministries website. They have a lot of very basic teachings on Torah. You definitely want to read Torah, and there's a thing called the the Torah cycle and the weekly Torah portion. So every week, everyone who does Torah is reading the same portion. And then there are many, many commentaries online about those portions. So for you to read it and then read the commentaries will give you some good information. 119 Ministries has, Jim Staley, Truth or Tradition, was a video, and I hope it's still online. I think it is. That and Identity Crisis are two really, really good videos on why you would want to keep Torah when you have been taught that you don't need to. And I have a few videos on mine. I think they're under Israelite Life that explain some of the more key concepts in Torah also. Hope that helps. Chasing Life Okay, you watch regularly. So you're getting some of it through his sermons as well. Cattywampus McDougall, I think I was talking about the mounds in Illinois. I think you're supposed to have a really huge one up there that's like a snake that's, several miles long, but I'm, over 50 brain. I may not be thinking of that. Bless you, Sister Kate. We love you. Pastor Fox, family of 5 here in Minnesota. Transcend falsehood. Hey, shalom. Thank you so much. Thank you for dropping by. Hey, Noel Leon. Hi, shalom. Linda, you didn't ask any questions. All right, shalom. See you. Okay. And it's buffering, so maybe something's going on with the reception there. Was King James a bad guy? That's a good question, Noel Leon, because on one hand, yes, on one hand, no. He was the first Scottish, he was the son of Mary, Queen of Scots, and Queen Elizabeth of England was her cousin, and Queen Elizabeth had her arrested and beheaded. So her son came to the throne of England and Scotland. And so, on one hand, it's a really good thing in my mind because I'm part Scottish, and so I'm down for the Scots. On the other hand, he was not super friendly to believers. His church was still very controlling. And so as a common person, you were not supposed to read the word for yourself. You were only supposed to get the word through the priests of his church. And so it was from that background that the Pilgrims started and the Puritans started their separation from that church, because they started to read the word in their own homes and began to understand that what they were being taught in their churches did not jibe with what the word said. And to be a separatist, which is what they called themselves, the Pilgrims called themselves Pilgrims, but they also called themselves separatists. To be holy is to be set apart. The word holy in the word, when we read it, doesn't mean like the Catholics where you have, you've got the, the shining circle of something above your head. I am holy. No, holy means different, set apart from everyone else. So King James, his overbearing churchhood is what caused the Pilgrims to then flee from him. They were arrested twice and they went to Holland. And I think I've got a couple of videos up on that. The ones about Thanksgiving talk about that. So, he was good and bad. And I think also Jacobean literature like that, which are quite gruesome and quite earthy, came out underneath his leadership as well. People wrote plays about, murders and burying bodies and things like that. So, no question is with me is ever yes or no. There's always shades of gray in there. Oh, thank you. Thanks for recognizing. I can't look at it right now, but I'll check it later. Oh, the Truth or Tradition link. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Do you think the Puritans, no, it's not. Do you think the Puritans were Torah observant? It's a very good question. So the Puritans were sort of the overarching group that were withdrawing from like the Church of England's, Church of Scotland type overbearing state-run churches. But the Puritans had their own agenda, and they are the ones who ended up killing Charles II, who beheaded Charles II, who was the king on the throne in England. The Pilgrims who came to America and were reading the word for themselves became a separate village, a separate community. Yeah. Following Acts 2. Like they were trying very hard to get back to the Acts 2 church, which was the church right around the time of Jesus, and wanted to model what they were doing on that church, which is exactly what Shofar Mountain wanted to do. And their leader, William Bradford, he wasn't the original leader. The original leader died in the first year, so he was elected after that. Near the end of his life, he said, I didn't think you could understand the Bible unless you understood Hebrew. And so I think if he wasn't Torah observant at the time, he was getting really close to understanding Torah observance and how important it would have been to the faith. Let's see. Shalom, MI Prepper. Is that Michigan Prepper? Is that how I should consider that? Hey, We Tree Bonsai, shalom. I'm only on for 6 more minutes. I just want to warn you, you guys got here. So We Tree Bonsai, I'm on my computer now, and you were going to tell me, like, if I click on the dots, how to do a moderator. And so I'm on my computer. If you want to tell me how to do that, I will try right now. You're welcome, Rebecca. I highly recommend that you get William Bradford's book and read about the Pilgrims. Click on the dots and add a moderator. All right, so there's 2 sets of dots. I will try this one. Is that doing anything? I'm clicking on it. Oh, okay, add moderator. Okay. All right. So are you going to be available for tomorrow night? Not military. Okay. Yay. That's cool. Military intelligence, not Michigan. That's what I did in the Army long ago. Oh, well, that gives me a totally different spin on you, MI Prepper. What do you know about interrogation? This makes me think of all the arguments about versions of the Bible. When you spoke about understanding Hebrew, right? I mean, the King James Version is a good version because those guys would have probably studied maybe some Greek, some Latin, maybe some Aramaic. And there's a Strong's Concordance for the King James Version, which not all versions have. And the Strong's Concordance has a number for every word in the Bible. And then you can look up whether it was in Greek or Hebrew in the original and what the meanings of that word would be. And so it gives you a much better reference for searching out the meanings. Now, my daughter just brought up a really good point. We use a companion King James version of the Bible, and it has extensive notes in it. And those notes are often really accurate and, again, offer background information to the meanings of like holidays and feasts and words and so on. They still come from a Christian point of view, so there's a little bit of difference, but all in all, it's a version of the Bible, and that's the one we use normally. That one and the scriptures. We use a lot of the phraseology, like the names of Yahweh are in Hebrew. Yeshua's name is written in the Hebrew letters. Moshe, his name in Hebrew would be Moshe, not Moses, all that stuff. So it's another really good version. Oh, I'm not going to tell him that. All right. Tomorrow night, Spaz Mama, it'll be 7:00. And I'll probably be right here in this setting with these really cool hunting horses behind me. 98 linguished. You did not interrogation. Okay, that was kind of tongue-in-cheek too, MI Prepper. So pretty fluent in Russian. What level were you at when you were in that job? Das Vidanya. Hey, the revolting woman. Hey, sis. Shalom, shalom. I'm only online for a few more minutes, sister. So if you have any comments or questions, please get them out. I said I was only going to be online 20 minutes, and it's almost an hour now. So if you have comments or questions, please ask them. Is there a Bible that Jesus' disciples made? I think that's what the, what do you call it? Oh, those scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls. I think that's what the Dead Sea Scrolls are. They are copies of the writings that the apostles would have done. And so that's why you have the letters that John wrote and the letters that Paul wrote. I think that's as close as you're going to get to originals. I don't know that there are any original, papyrus of the apostles' actual writings. I think what you use of them. I'm enjoying the live stream. I'm doing all right. I mean, this is only my third one, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you guys who have signed on. I appreciate your thumbs up because somebody said something about that yesterday. I didn't know that was important, but I appreciate are supporting me. If I were going to do a live stream, like the premiere is different than a live stream, sort of. It's something that I knew I found very interesting and I wanted to share. And then YouTube said, you should do a premiere. So I thought, all right, I'll follow their lead. Like they're part of, the support network for my channel. But if I were going to do a live stream, I think I probably would kind of give it a theme. Not that I want to limit anybody, I don't. But if people are interested in a certain thing, then I think I should cover those topics, I guess, if that makes sense. So in that sense, I'm kind of enjoying what's going on right now. And because I'm an extrovert, large groups of people, I don't know about that. It's actually something I enjoy. You're rusty. Wait, I want to read what you wrote. I'm rusty. I later got a degree in Russian studies. I have studied other languages, have not, but I still have a pretty good base. Awesome. That's right, Prepper. I just did a little bit of study online, started watching YouTube videos about the monarchy in Russia and some of the one, and found it very, very interesting. And then modern Russia now, is a totally new creature than the communist clamped down Russia that, we knew when 50 years ago or whatever. Let's see. I want to read these. The Revolting Woman, good job on the videos, my friend from Qatar has enjoyed them. You're in Qatar? Oh, your friend from Qatar. Cattywampus McDougal, you know Harriet Villanueva. Oh, okay. What is she doing in Qatar? She said she was working there. Is she, they're happy being there? Because I know there were a lot of Filipino maids hired in Qatar, and then their passports are taken away and they can't leave, and it's not a good situation. Is she okay over there? Good afternoon, Doris. Shalom, shalom. Okay, so she's watching the Revolting Woman's videos too. Awesome. This place, but does not keep the chat room conversation. Now, I just watched a video on that WeTree, and it said it is there, it saves it, but you cannot add to it. Like, you cannot go in there and do anything with it. It'll just show what was there. Throw was here. Thank you. This is cool. Thanks for coming by. 23. It is the Wild West of capitalism with government corruption. Think 1870s to 1890s USA. Yeah, yep. And it's really interesting. There's some videos online about the rich Russians who have fled because Putin is in power and have gone to London, and how they have changed the flavor of London. And there's a whole thing there now just to cater to their needs. They're ultra, very interesting videos. The Revolting Woman, I'm not just enjoying your videos, I'm learning so much. Yeah, she has a lot. Her videos are awesome. She has a lot to offer. Okay, she's supposed to be back in August while they go home for Ramadan. I have seen none of the chats available after the premiere. I guess we'll find out together, WeTree. I know you said that yesterday, and so I kind of researched it. I watched a video today by a YouTube person who said, you know, it's available, but you're not allowed to comment. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Revolting Woman, are you getting your garden ready? Are you guys starting to put in your early crops like peas and spinach and onions and things? Who's Throw? In the comments. Whoa! Oh, here he comes. It's been so wet. Zach has gotten tons of manure, though. Your garden was so much better than mine, and the manure thing makes a huge. Going to try to get some down on our garden this year, since we're not actually going to be doing crops. So good for you guys. This. I'm sorry to hear that. Not enough sunlight. Telling you, I could do seedlings in the house we're in now. We have a good amount of southern exposure, but we don't have any tables or flat spaces to put them. So we decide we're not going to do them, and then we wind up buying them from somewhere. The Revolting Husband and Wife live directly south of me, down I-65 south. Georgia is not far from me. Oh, well, I didn't know that. That's really cool. You didn't come to the Viking meeting that we were at, did you? I don't remember meeting you there, but, you know, my memory's not the greatest. An hour north of Chattanooga. Okay, I've driven by you many, many times, Spaz Mama, on trips to Florida. Wow. So are you really wet too? Because Teresa said there's been flooding in her area, and she's in Tennessee. What else can I talk about? Only. How about cooking over a wood stove? Does anybody want to know anything about that or alternative cooking methods? Too much rain. Okay, you did. All right, so you have to wait for the ground to dry up before you start playing with it or everything will rot. You do? You want to know about it? Okay. I have done some experimenting with the wood stove, and approximately each log that you put in there when you're burning is about 50 degrees. So to get your stove up to 350, it takes like maybe 75 degrees, like 5 logs for it to get up to that. And then talk about the hardest part of keeping Torah. Okay, I'll do both. Okay, I'll do both things. I'll do the wood stove and then the Torah, and then I really do have to be done. Okay, so has worked the best for me with the wood stove is to have a flat bottom Dutch oven that I set right on top of the wood stove, and I put about 5 logs in, and I get the temp up to around 350, and then in the Dutch oven, depending on what I want to cook, like let's say I want to cook a cake. You put nails or bolts or canning jar lids in the bottom so that whatever pan you put in there is not resting right on the Dutch oven. You want some space so that the warm air will go around it. And then you put whatever you're baking on there. The last thing I think I baked in one of those was a blueberry muffin mix that I put in a cake pan. So it ended up being like a blueberry muffin cake. And then put the lid on. And I also have what are called fire bricks. You can use regular bricks, but if you go to like TSC, they will have fire bricks that you can line your wood stove with. Well, we put a few on top, and so they get really warm. And so when I'm baking something, I put them on top of the dough and let them heat from the top. Less mess before holes out of the oven and put them on top. Or coals out of the wood stove and put them on top of the Dutch oven. By using the fire bricks, you don't have near the mess, they fall and they catch fire. I've fried on top of the wood stove before, just put the frying pan right on there and cook in it. I think that's about it. I think the Dutch oven, the flat bottom, way to cook on that. So I am in a desert in regards to Torah keepers. Still brainwashed from other things. No marshmallows. No marshmallows is the hardest thing about keeping Torah because most marshmallows are made with unclean pork-based gelatin products. But there are, you don't have to say kosher because kosher means inspected by a rabbi, but there are Torah correct marshmallows available often in the natural food stores. Okay, so one of the hardest things about keeping Torah is overcoming the training you've had as a Christian, because so much of the Christian doctrine has been flavored over the years and has guided people away from the evidence in the New Testament that Torah needed to be kept. So, for instance, the whole concept of it nailed to the cross is a huge, how do you call it, cliche that Christian pastors will tell their congregations. And I am going to get into that. It's very specific. It's in Colossians 2. But here is one of the biggest concepts that makes it difficult. Because the modern Christian church looks at Torah, and in their minds, the battle in the Bible is between Torah and grace. And this is not right. And so they come to that because they don't have the Hebrew roots. They don't have the complete picture of the story that the Bible is. because the Bible is the story encapsulated of the people of Yahweh. So without getting too in depth, you've got Yahweh. He wants a people that will be set apart to him. That's what holy means, set apart. And so he approaches Abraham and says, you're the guy, because Abraham is already obedient to him. I'm going to make, this people out of you, and you are going to be different from everyone else around you. All the cultures around the Abraham and Adam and all those guys are like the Egyptians and the Canaanites, the Amorites and the Amalekites, and they are worshiping false gods. They have gods with named like Moab and Chemosh and just Ishtar and all those things. And so God is choosing for himself a very specific people. And I said Abraham, but really it's Adam. Adam comes out and his offspring lead to Abraham, who then becomes the father of the nations. And even Adam and Eve knew Torah in the garden because they're walking and talking with God every single day. So he's going to give them his basic instructions. And then when they are kicked out of the garden, they still know his rules. And so when Cain, they all know that this is now in other societies, like the Kiwar prosperity people, killing your offspring is perfectly okay. You're going to get more prosperous because you have offered one of your offspring to this weird god, Moloch, or whoever it is. So these Hebrew Israelites are to be different from everyone else around them. And so you get them coming forward, and they are being told by their prophets and by their scriptures and Old Testament sayings and things that there is a Messiah coming. And while they're there doing their thing in the Old Testament, the Father keeps telling them, keep my rules and commandments, and I'm going to bless you. If you start falling away and worshiping these other gods, I'm going to spank you. And the Old Testament is just a series of stories of those people doing those things. When they're obedient, the Father blesses them. And when they're not, and they start, as he calls it, whoring after other gods, he spanks them. And he sends his prophets before the spank comes. And they tell whoever's in control of the Israelite clan at the time, they say, hey, look, dude, you got to get back right with God. He's seen you doing things wrong, and he's going to send a punishment. And he sends plagues sometimes, and he sends people to come and take everybody prisoner. And when they do listen, then and they humble themselves, or they, break out the Torah, which they haven't read in 100 years, and they read it together, the Father blesses them. So that all that moves towards the coming of this Messiah. And when they're in the Babylonian captivity, that's Daniel and those guys, the influence of the Babylonian is really strong. They're there 70 years, and they get a lot of teachings from them, and they start letting the elders, who are, those 70 guys that Moses appoints to help him do things. Well, the elders, not the same, having elders, the teachings of the elders become more than the teachings of God. And so when Yeshua comes back, they're looking for him to be a on the earth battle warrior who's going to kill all the Romans. But what Yeshua is coming back to do is to restore Torah. Look at some of the things he says in the New Testament. That's his purpose. He comes only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. In Mark 7, 1 through 13, the elders are at the market, and they're giving him guff because his men don't wash their hands in a specific way that they require. And he takes them to task. In around verse 13, he says, your traditions of men make vain the word of God. So Jesus never once is trying to do anything different than his Father. And he says multiple times, I am my Father are one. I follow my Father's commandments. If you love me, follow my commandments. My commandments are the same as my Father's commandments. He's very clear about all that. And the modern Christian church doesn't see that because they're looking at it with their modern Christian eyes. They don't have the eyes of someone who's been studying the Old Testament and seeing the entire picture. So then when you get to Colossians 2 in verse 14 says, for these statutes, we're free of them. They have been nailed to the cross. And the modern Christian sees that and they think those statutes must be God's laws, because sometimes God's laws are called statutes. Well, if you go to the beginning of Colossians 2 and you start reading through, the first 4 verses introduce, I would not have you misled by the teachings of men. And I'm not using the exact there. When you're in a chapter of the Bible, the first couple of sentences of it introduce the idea of that chapter. So we are given the idea of that chapter is don't be misled by men. And then that is repeated through 8, and it's restated that you are not led astray by men. And then when you get to verse 14, that is what is nailed to the cross. Well, the teachings of men that these Hebrew Israelites were following were those teachings of the elders, those things that came around during the Babylonian captivity, and then they codified them as the Talmud. And those are the things that Yeshua is directly talking about in Mark 7. So many requirements. You say you have to do this, that, and the other thing. Like he's walking on the Shabbat and he needs to eat, and they get him, they're yelling at him because he's working on the Shabbat because he's pulling grain or something out of a field to eat. Jesus knew the Torah better than they did, and he's trying to get them back to it. It's also shown in Matthew 23, where he takes the Pharisees and the Sadducees to task, and he's not nice. He's not, oh, you guys are just getting it wrong. Let's be friends. He is, you vipers, you sons of Satan. You are teaching people wrongly, and you're dragging them to hell with you. So that is the hardest part of Torah, is to wrap your mind around the fact it's not grace versus the law. It is the Torah versus the Talmud, and that grace is still there. Grace never leaves. Salvation through Jesus and his grace is never under question. The only thing under question is what your walk after you accept Jesus should look like. Your obedience to the Father is part of your faith. Because in James it says faith without works is dead. Well, the works are not just be nice to people. Those works are keeping the Torah. So that's it. I know it was very long. I apologize. I just talked for like 15 minutes. I'm so sorry. Okay. Yes, Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. Shalom, Raphael. Right. Yes, the Pharisees weren't policing what was nailed to the cross. The Pharisees were nailed to the cross. Their policing, their extra was what was nailed to the cross. And Jesus frees everyone from the death you earn under the law, because everybody breaks it. So we all get the death sentence, but punishment, so we don't have to die for that. Does that make sense? Hey, Cassandra, thank you. Thank you, Weetree. You guys humble me with your comments, but these things are things that we've been studying now for 7 years. So we finally have it all worked out, and we have answers. You're welcome, Chasing Life. All right, you guys, I think that's probably enough for right now. I'm just losing my voice, and I have other things to do. I appreciate you all showing up. I really, really do. Bless you guys. And I'll try to do more live streams. I will try to think of some more topics that I can cover there. And the premiere is tomorrow. I think it'll be really neat. I look forward to seeing everybody. Thank you. Bless you. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Shalom. How do I get out of it? There we go. Shalom.